Good afternoon, everyone from Key West. Um, I have been reading the Post today with quite a bit of interest, intrigue, and respect for the dialogue going on there. Um, Marriage is a sacred institution. I think I'd like to have seen more of the conversation this week, maybe towards the idea of the vocations as well, and that's only from a selfish perspective. Um, And this is the way I look at it through my eyes, just right now, as an unmarried person, a person that was going to be married, but the young lady that I was going to marry, we had an agreement that one of us was going to get through college first, and then we would get married, at least get our undergraduate degrees. And that worked for about the first 2 years. We had been high school sweethearts, and she was being a bridesmaid quite a few times, and she finally decided she wanted to be the bride. She didn't tell me that, and she got engaged to somebody else at the same time as we were engaged. And when her parents found out about her second engagement, they called me to the house, told me exactly what was going on, unbeknownst to her, and introduced me to her new husband-to-be and her in the same room. Did that slant my or change my life? Sure it did. Sure it did. But I told him, I said, you better take care of her. Don't make me have to come look for you. And to this day, she and I have a wonderful rapport. She confides in me. She has had many bumps in her marriage, and her husband actually became a minister. But, and even in my former business partner's marriage, I think many times I worked harder to keep the marriage together than they did. Because both of them would ask me for help. And I guess I've always been the big brother or the go-to person in relationships. I don't care if they were high school sweethearts or whatever, and I still am, and I love that aspect of my life and that talent that God has given me. I guess it's a talent, that charism, that ability to point people in the right directions, or at least be a good listener, because sometimes people just need to talk. Marriage has changed over the years, hasn't it? We look at marriage in so many different ways. I come from a Mediterranean family, Middle Eastern, and up until the last, and still to this day, I am aware of arranged marriages. Now, marriages back in the Bible were a lot different. A bride was pretty much, quote unquote, bought through negotiation, through the fathers, the son, with the bride, through a cup of wine, a commitment, stocking a bedchamber, the wedding party, the groom coming at night and abducting the bride and her bridesmaids, and taking her off actually to the bridal chamber that he had stocked, consummating the marriage, and then after the marriage was consummated, boom, that's when the celebration, our modern reception, began. So I know that the marriages were arranged, and it reminds me in a lot of ways. This is what I talked to my late grandmother and grandfather about. And it was about the same time that song came out that Tina Turner was made her comeback with. What's love got to do with it? Well, my grandmother kind of looked at me like, huh, what? What's love got to do with it? Well, love's got everything to do with it. And I think that's the element that gets lost so many times now in our modern world, because everything is so freehand. This whole sexual revolution that happened in the 60s, free love and everything else, yes, it's been in check somewhat. Look at what we've been told to do in so many ways, like put a check on things, put a break on things, people. The epidemic of AIDS and of herpes and of now the resurgence of sexually transmitted diseases, especially syphilis. What is that telling us? That's telling us to gird our loins. That is telling us to be more responsible with our bodies and our minds, and most of all our lives and our ability to give life and to instill that life, breathe it into another little baby that can be brought into the world. This just blows me away when I see, I love what Dr. Daniela pointed out about the inflated statistics and things like that, because I do think that we are scared a lot of times, and we use that rationalization given to us by the media. I don't care if it's in the political arena or what, about, well, it doesn't matter if this marriage fails. 50% of them do, but 75% of the second marriages survive. That doesn't mean squat. What happened to that other 50%? The kids that were involved, the lives, you just can't discount. Human lives are not disposable. They're not garbage bags, and this whole attitude bothers me. That is why I've been counseling just different family members that want to get married. I'm marrying a couple next month, dear friends of mine, and we've had several conversations about how they're going to bring the two families together and two children from a previous marriage into their marriage. It's a very, very touchy subject, but it's a tender subject that needs to be approached. The intimacy of love and communication needs to be brought back into that sacrament of marriage. It is not a disposable sacrament. None of them are, but especially the cornerstone of our society is built in to that sacrament of marriages. Ruling dynasties were made from it. Arranged marriages. This country married this country to keep it all in tow, and that's what kept us glued together. And sometimes there was love, I suppose. The entire issue of same-sex marriage. I have a home in Key West. That's where I am right now, and it's a very sensitive subject. Do we deprive love? Do we deprive the legitimacy of what society should show as love against what? What is sexuality? Is sexuality natural or is sexuality societal? Do we look at sexuality as bisexuality? I learned in psychology, biology, and all my other studies occurs naturally in nature. It is, in my opinion, it is humans who have imposed that societal mores that, through the Bible even, and I know I'm going out on a limb here, but we have to have a conversation about it, we have to have a dialogue about it, that there are men and there are women, and then there are men that prefer men and women that prefer women. Where do we define, what do we do in the natural order of things? If God is in control and that has happened, then how do we reconcile that into the natural order of what we as Christians and Christian Catholics believe is right? I don't know. We certainly have to talk about it. Everybody deserves to be loved, and everybody is capable of love. And what this world needs now more than anything is love and understanding. It doesn't need any more persecution. It doesn't need any more finger pointing. It does not need any more condemnation. And I say that off the record. I say that on the record. I'm open-minded in my views because I believe God has called me to be that way, to understand and at least respect. Might not mean that I accept, but I have to respect. I have to respect the lives that are already here trying to make a go of it on this planet. As a member of the body of Christ, bathed in the grace of God, as I do respect the life of that little baby that is unborn in the womb of its mother. God bless everybody. Thank you.